Good morning. Sir, are you there?
Yeah, good morning.
In the boardroom, sir? You have joined, sir. Shall we wait for a few more minutes, sir?
10 participants there are. I think we should start because we have given the time.
Yeah. Good morning, Professor Mahara, and good morning.
Yeah, morning.
Okay, then we will start, sir. Professor M. Artigala, Dean, Faculty of Dental Sciences, Professor Madhava Chandratilaka, and Dr. Harit Vikramasekara, our research persons today, and my dear colleagues. First of all, I want to thank Professor Madhava and his team for delivering this session today. In fact, we arranged this session within a very short time. Especially, I want to appreciate you all for the flexibility extended to us when I asked, I want to have this session within this week when the students are out. In fact, although Dr. Ashwin and Dr. Dilmini are not presenting today, I want to help them because helping me to make a good link with Professor Madhava and also Dr. Harit. I want to thank you for your presence today and doing a demonstration for us, and also passing me important information with regard to Mahara. Now I like to invite our Dean, Professor Manjula Artigala, to speak few words. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Shanta. And very good morning to all of you. Professor Madhav Chandratilaka and Dr.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Persons of this workshop, and you all are no strangers, especially Professor Chandratilaka. You've been to this place well personally, so
yes.
Yeah, we feel it a privilege to have the kind of resource personnel that we are having today. And this is a very important aspect that we haven't been using portfolios. Apart from e-portfolio, even portfolios, we haven't been introduced into the assessment system so far. And we are going to do that from the 10th semester. Some of it may have done informally, kind of reflective assessments, but still then officially we are doing this now. Everybody knows that it's a part of postgraduate education and assessed in the PGIM. So our academic staff may have certain know-how about that, but still, I think we need to educate the students as well as, I mean, we need to get more, especially into when we of the e-format as well. So I'm very thankful to Professor Chanta as well organizing this, and we are really grateful to Professor Madhav Chandratilaka and Dr. Harit Vikramasekara for helping us in this matter, and we expect your assistance in the future as well. We'll be in touch with this regard. So thank you very much, and I hope that if, all of our members will join today. Anyhow, we will record it, and if your permission, we can distribute that among our academics only. So I hope that should be all right. So thank you very much, and over to you, Professor Chandratilaka and Dr.
Thank you very much.
So thank you, sir. And I know Professor Madhava is not, I mean, it's known to many of us, but there are some young lecturers. So I think it's good to introduce him. And it's my privilege and also duty. And Dr. Ashwin, it's nice to see you. I'm glad you are okay now, right? Thank you so much.
Happy to join in today.
Okay, thank you. You are very welcome, and we will keep in touch for future activities too. Professor Madhava Chandratilaka obtained his MBBS degree from Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo, and his master's degree and PhD qualifications from the University of Dundee Dundee in the UK. He is the head and chair professor of Department of Medical Education, Faculty of Medicine, University of California. I'm sorry, is my screen visible to you?
Yes, yes, we do.
Okay, thank you. He has contributed to several chapters in several textbooks published by top-ranking publishers worldwide. And his research expertise is in medical education, and he has published numerous research articles in different fields of professional education in index medical journals with very high citation scores. He's a top-ranking researcher in Sri Lanka with H index of 19. And portfolio is one of his research expertise. Ladies and gentlemen, I am sure we have selected the best person for our workshop today. Now it is over to you, Madhava, Professor Madhava.
Thank you very much, Shanta. Thank you very much for the invitation. Actually, we were connected by Ashwini, and I should thank Ashwini for that. And Ashwini finally informed me just have a start, and then we'll continue with the rest of it, and then the collaboration can be more in the future. So thank you very much, Professor Artiger and Professor Shanta, for inviting us for this. And we are really happy to help, because portfolio is a very important concept that we need to embark on. Sometimes we might feel that we might be behind the rest of the world in adopting portfolios. It is not that it's a trend or it's a fashion, but it's a must. There are certain things which is expected of healthcare professionals, which cannot be assessed using conventional assessment methods. So what we are going to, as we discussed with Prof. Chanta, I thought of giving an overview about why the portfolios are important and why should we use portfolios. And then we'll embark on the major part of it will be on how to use e-version of the portfolio. We've been using portfolios for undergraduate education quite a while now, for certain parts of undergraduate education, not as a whole, but we have converted it to, we are in the process of transforming it to a single portfolio using this beautiful framework of Mahara e-portfolio template. So that will be discussed by Harit and Ashwini later on with some demonstrations. May I give a small introduction about why portfolios are important, and then we can decide as a faculty, you can decide to which areas the portfolio can be adopted, or are you going for a portfolio for the whole course. So basically, there's a huge need for portfolios. We know that in all healthcare professions education, there are 3 stages: undergraduate stage, postgraduate stage, and continuing medical education or continuing professional development. Then we know that during the undergraduate period, the supervision is very high. we closely supervise our students. It's not like a school, but if you compare with the postgraduate and continuing medical education, supervision is more. But then in postgraduate arena, postgraduate stage, we've been supervised. The trainees are being supervised, however, not to the extent that they are in the undergraduate stage. So gradually, the supervision leads off. When we become independent practitioners, there's no formal mechanism of supervising in Sri Lanka, but in certain countries there are appraisal systems. However, whether there's a appraisal system or not, the supervision is minimum. So we are independent. So there should be a way of empowering ourselves as our own supervisors, or there should be a way of gauging our ability and updating ourselves. So independent practice is gradually increasing from undergraduate to continuing medical education. So from undergraduate medical education onwards, we need to cultivate a very important educational element in our students. We need to foster that, and that is independent learning. They should be able to engage in learning. They should be able to identify their own needs and then engage in independent learning. So that's a requirement. Also, as dentists or doctors, our role is fast changing. Now, we know that there are people who can undertake some of the technical aspects that we carried out as traditional doctors or dentists or oromaxillary surgeons. So that can be delegated. I mean, people can be trained, and those can be dedicated to those people. Delegation can be done. Around the world, you must have seen that simple procedures are being done by nurses, are being done by technical people, and they can be trained with by investing maybe 1/3 of the money that is invested on producing a dental surgeon or a doctor in that case. However, worldwide, they have not stopped reducing the production of dental surgeons or doctors. That is because we have the current role today is dealing with uncertainty and complexity. So the technical people cannot do that. So for us to deal with the uncertainty and the complexity of healthcare issues, we need to develop reflective practice. That's a fundamental skill that need to be developed in all practitioners. So we need, on one hand, we need to develop independent learning skills. On the other hand, we need to develop reflective practice. Actually, reflective practice is the cornerstone or the basis of becoming a professional. If somebody has reflective practice, a person who's doing a job has reflective practice, he becomes a professional. It's not the other way around. Everybody who's in medicine or dentistry or law or banking, they don't become professionals until they incorporate reflective practice into their routine. On the other hand, we know that the knowledge base is getting expanded. It's quite fast, and you can't keep up to date. You have to struggle to keep up to date. And if you just decide that I have learned enough and this is enough for me to practice, in another 2 years' time, we might be outdated. So we need to develop in our students, in our undergraduates, the skills of lifelong learning. So that need to be inculcated as well. So 3 important aspects: independent learning, reflective practice, and lifelong learning. These are interconnected. However, these are elements, explicit elements, educational elements that we need to impart in our undergraduates. Therefore, we should find ways of developing these skills among our students, and through the traditional teaching learning framework, we cannot find a solution. So portfolio is only one, but there are many other ways of doing it, but we need to incorporate some way of developing these skills. Otherwise, as postgraduates, they will not practice it. They will struggle with reflective practice. They will struggle with independent learning. They will struggle with lifelong learning, right? And when they become consultants or independent practitioners, they will never have these qualities if we do not foster or inculcate these elements in them right at the beginning. So that is why we have thought about portfolios. On the other hand, the traditional role of assessments are changing. Now, most of our assessments, it might be a short case, long case, MCQ, OSCE, whatever. We use those traditional methods to assess what students know. That is assessment of learning, whether they know, whether they meet the standards in a particular area. It might be knowledge, it might be skills, it might be attitude. So that is assessment of learning. However, it has been developed to assessment for learning. Actually, the assessments help the learners to learn. It is not that it's not a measurement for ourselves to make sure that they have come to the standard, but that is assessment has taken the learner's perspective, and assessment for learning is assessment should provide some feedback, some sort of feedback to the learner for future learning. And it has transformed further. Now we are talking about assessment as learning. So there's no teaching, learning, and assessment, teaching, learning, assessment together. It should happen together. So then only the independence, the reflection, the lifelong learning skills are developed. Therefore, we need to incorporate some sort of assessment while they are learning, assessment as learning, not that in certain points we have assessments. So it's not only about meeting the standard, it is not only about providing feedback, but it is also about having assessment as a part of routine practice. It's not a separate thing, it is integrated into our routine practice. So there's a need to do that. So assessment need to evolve to assessment as learning from the current stage of assessment of learning. So, as I said, the conventional methods are very good, and they should be there to make sure that assessment of learning. We need to make sure that passing out graduates are competent enough to perform as dental surgeons. On the other hand, we should give them feedback by having formal assessments. However, for formal feedback, but formative assessment, but portfolios can be used as a method of inculcating assessment as learning. When they are reflecting on what they have written, what they have done, there is a self-assessment. Sometimes the tutor feedback can be incorporated, and then and there, they keep on learning. So the assessment is not deviated, or it's not divided. They are not two things. It's not separated from the learning process. So the portfolios might not be good enough to judge what has learned, right? But it is very good in as a tool of assessment as learning. Any questions up to now? Any comments? I've been rushing through because you might be very interested to see the e-version of the portfolio rather than a theoretical presentation like that. But if you have any questions, any comments to make, are you all right?
Yes, I think so. And
Okay.
we can have another QA session maybe.
Later on. Yeah.
That is also possible.
Yeah. So the portfolio is actually a purposeful collection of evidence to show that somebody is achieving a set of goals with some reflections. So basically, we need to have a set of goals, and the learner should collect evidence to show that he or she is achieving towards those goals, and there should be reflection, and the learner should purposefully collect evidence to show that they are achieving the goal. So if it's a collection of work, it might be very similar to a logbook. Portfolio should be very similar to logbook. But the logbooks and portfolios are quite different, because logbooks are actually meant for assessment of learning. So if somebody has signed that this amount of dental procedures have been conducted by this person, then we know that this person has conducted this number of dental procedures, and they are up to the standard. So you have the consultant signature there. So in logbook, we say 5 filling of dental caries, extraction of 10 teeth need to be done during first semester or something like that. So that's the logbook. So then we know that they have done it and they have achieved the expected standard, because somebody has supervised and somebody has checked and signed. So that is logbook. But portfolio is different. A portfolio in a portfolio, you have a reflection part. So while completing the task, they need to think about what are the good things about his performance, what are the things that he or she need to improve. So this reflection part is there. So because of that, it serves assessment as learning part. Assessment for learning, they get feedback, because if they don't know something, if they think about the weaknesses that they have, or if they have any doubts, they can clarify then and there. They can look for books, they can look for internet, they can look for help from outsiders. So this is the assessment part. So to logbooks. So as I discussed in the previous couple of slides ago, there are 4 things in a portfolio, basically, right? We can adapt this to whatever way we want. If we have these 4 components, we can call it a portfolio. And there are several designs, many designs to portfolios, but the fundamentals are this. So you should give them outcomes or goals. Now, if you think about dental program, the 4-year dental program, you might have program outcomes. So you might give all program outcomes for the portfolio. So they should collect all the evidence. It might be clinical, it might be theoretical aspects, it might be attitudinal aspects, it might be professionalism, it might be procedural things or skills, whatever it is. We can ask them to collect evidence to show that they are achieving the competence or the level, the standard that we want. Or else you can select some of the outcomes for the portfolio. Let's say about ethical practice and professionalism. So as a program, you might decide, okay, these aspects will be, these outcomes only will be focused in the portfolio. So it's a decision that you need to make as a collective, as a consensus decision of the group or the faculty. So you might have 10 program outcomes. You might select all program outcomes for the portfolio, or you might select 5 or 4 relevant outcomes for the portfolio. That is the first thing that we need to do. And then we can prescribe some of the evidence that need to be included in the portfolio. For example, to show that you are developing as a professional, right? So they might be collecting, you might say, you should participate in 3 student seminars, and the participation evidence need to be included, and to show that you are developing. So you can prescribe some of the evidence that need to be essential evidence that you need to be included in the portfolio, and you can give the option to students, in addition to this evidence, you can include anything else as well. If anything else which is relevant, not that everything that they do will be included in the portfolio. To show that these particular outcomes are achieved, you can include these basic things first, and then you can consider including anything you think are relevant to these outcomes. And then it should be a purposeful collection. So that is purposeful collection. You are not putting everything in the portfolio. You just put the relevant ones to show that you are going towards, or you are progressing towards the goal. And it should be accompanied by reflection. Now, reflection can be about individual evidence, right? So if you add a certificate of participating in a competition or something, you can reflect on that particular event. Or else it might be about uh, the outcome. Let's say becoming an ethical practitioner is your outcome. So how helpful that was in becoming a helpful ethical practitioner. So it might individual or individual evidence can be subjected to reflection, or the outcome can be subjected to reflection from time to time. So in that case, they might be reflecting on a collection of it, not a single evidence, but maybe about 2-3 evidence together to show that they are developing as a ethical professional. So these are some of the these are some of the things that these are the outcomes. One of the examples, template of outcomes for you. We all PGIM outcomes are common to both medicine and dentistry, and that's why dental surgery, and that is why I just mentioned that. So, if you take these outcomes, we might decide, okay, you have to collect evidence to show that you are achieving this. So subject expertise, definitely your exam results, right, need to be included. Maybe MD part 1 or MD part 2 or whatever. Teaching, whether you might have conducted teaching sessions for nurses, medical students as trainees. They might have conducted sessions like that, or something like that. This is postgraduate level. So something to show that you are developing as a teacher. Research, abstracts, papers, presentations, or whatever. Ethics and medical legal issues, the conferences that you have attended, the dilemmas you have faced, medical legal documents that you have produced or issued, and information technology, whether you have developed your information technology, participation of workshops, or databases you have created, literature search that you have conducted using information technology, whatever. Reflective practice. That if you have reflection on all these, you show that you are a reflective practitioner. And lifelong learning, again, maybe participation of CPD activities, maybe continuing professional development activities, continuing medical education activities, whatever, conducting classes for somebody, right, as a part of journal clubs, whatever. So based on the outcomes that you have, you can decide what need to be included. So if you can reflect on the program outcomes, you might think, okay, we have 12 program outcomes. Out of those 4 program outcomes, maybe 5 or 6 outcomes are more relevant to portfolios. Therefore, in the undergraduate program, we'll be looking at those 4. Or else you might think, no, we are going to have a portfolio for all outcomes. So there are certain outcomes that need to be included by students in relation to all the outcomes. So it's a collective consensus decision that you may have to make, in your program. However, in our own experience, we feel that starting with a selected number of outcomes will be a good thing, because if you implement a portfolio for all the outcomes, it might be a bit complicated. So maybe community-based learning, or maybe certain procedures, clinical aspects, or some ethical aspects, whatever, you can decide, and you can start portfolio to focus on those outcomes, and later on you can expand it to the whole program. But if you are courageous enough, if you are confident that you can handle portfolios for all the outcomes, you can always do that. There's nothing to prevent that happening. So evidence can be, it depends on the outcome. So photographs, certificates, case reports, professionalism dilemma, exam marks, or mark sheet of a particular student, that particular student, letters of commendation, abstracts, journal articles published, whatever, right? So it can be a gamut of things that need to be included. As I said, you can prescribe the minimum, and they can include additional ones which are relevant. And it should be a purposeful collection, as I said. Some people think that if your portfolio is very thick, then it's a good portfolio. That is not the case. If if the learner is very methodical and understand what need to be done in a portfolio, he or she will collect the bare minimum and show that he or she is achieving the goal without much difficulty, or without collecting non-essential things in the portfolio. So it's up to you to decide what sort of evidence need to be included in the portfolio. And in Mahara, in e-portfolios, you can include many. And it has a lot of advantages as well, because now when you are checking this checking the printed version, you might have to write feedback. And sometimes writing reflection might be difficult for students. And sometimes they might be able to record a reflection and put it in Mahara, because that's the advantage of having e-portfolio. And you can record your feedback when you are reading through. You can just talk to the screen and record it and put that in the portfolio, e-portfolio. So that's the advantage of having e-portfolios, where you can be flexible in the mode you are using. So we know that reflection, there are several templates that can be used for reflection. Basically, in reflection, what you do is you try to identify your strengths. You try to identify your the areas to be improved or negative aspects, and make a plan how to improve it, and just see how whether they were successful or not in the next instance. So basically, what we look at in reflection is self assessment, self regulation, and self efficacy. So those are technical words. Self assessment, whether what are the good things and bad things you did in that particular incident. Self regulation, what is your plan, right? How are you going to improve next time? So your plan is about your plan in simple terms. Self efficacy, at the end of the day, have your plan work or not work? So reflection is basically those three: self assessment, self regulation, and self efficacy. So reflection need to be taught, and it can be taught. It's something educable. Some people are more better at reflection, but some people might need support to reflect. So there should be a mentor system to support your students to develop reflective skills. And when they develop reflective skills, then they can carry on the development of portfolio very easily. However, there should be a mentor system to support students in maintaining their portfolio. So as I said, the reflection can be for each goal or outcome, or it can be for each evidence. So at the end of the day, if you are using a printed portfolio, you might end up something like this, which is a bit disheartening, right? You might have to go through all this. So that is why the portfolios were, we were with the workload we all have, we might have you don't have to check everything at this moment. Most of the stuff that is included in the portfolio might have been checked by somebody else. For example, if you have asked students to collect case discussions, then that case is presented to a consultant, and the consultant has given feedback, and the student has incorporated the feedback of that particular consultant and his reflection in the portfolio, and it's been checked and marked by that particular consultant. So therefore, you don't have to go through each and every evidence that is included in the portfolio. However, still, it's a big task, and we all involved in postgraduate portfolio marking and vivas and etc. etc. So it's not easy. But if you adopt to a e-version of it, when you have a minute of time, you can start giving feedback or checking for portfolios in your phone or in the computer. So that might be easier for you, depending on your preference to the electronic mode. However, the e-portfolios actually give more flexibility to teachers as well as for students. So if we talk about our experience, we have actually started e-portfolio for portfolios for community health strand, and we have 4 strands: clinical health strand, basic and applied sciences strand, personal development and family medicine strand, and community health strand in our curriculum. So we have introduced portfolios in PDFM, that is personal development strand, and community health strand. And however, now from the last batch onwards, we are when they come to when they are in the first week, we open a portfolio for everybody. Mahara portfolio for everybody, every student, and different strands are given as sections. And anybody, even in the clinical field, and now the medicine and surgery are interested in developing a portfolio and for students, so they can ask to put certain things in the electronic portfolio. So now they have a portfolio, electronic portfolio. Different people can use that portfolio and ask them to include certain evidence in that portfolio, and that can be separately looked at and marked. So that is how we operate at the moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Madhava, for enlightening us on e-portfolio. It's really, really helpful. I'm sure our staff members should have several, many questions. So now it is time for Q&A. Please.
Thank you, Madhava. I'm Dilip De Silva.
Hi.
Well, you must have, we have met you from the Ministry of Health, but I am now at the faculty.
Yeah, I heard that from Prof. Nilan. Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This Madhava, I just want to know now. This is we are giving this for a very clinical batch. This is our 10th semester, the final year.
Okay.
Right. So when they do it, like it encompasses a lot of though it's only on oral surgery, but a lot of subjects comes in so that they can write this portfolio. Right.
Okay.
Is the patient management and the everything history taking and even beyond referrals and all that. So in that context, say for the 10th semester means they have been here with us for 5 years, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to assess for that, in your opinion, how much the length, as you quite correctly said, the length is not the yardstick to measure it, but as a guideline, how much do you think, like what sort of a word count or a length do you prefer from your undergraduates at the final year?
Yeah. In the final year, actually, we don't use the portfolio at the moment. We finish. We have our portfolio for the first 4 years, and it will be checked. It will be marked in 2 occasions at the end of the second year and at the end of the 4th year. And then in the final year, we are not using at the moment, but medicine is planning to implement one from year 3. That is their first medical appointment to year 5, the final medical appointment. So, but in PDFM and community health strand, we use it from year 1 to year 4, and there will be a mentor, and those will be marked in 2 occasions, year 2 and year 4. So the basic principle, Dilip, about this, the implementation of the portfolio is our expectation should be proportionate to the duration of that, the duration that we give. For example, if it's a 3 months appointment, if we ask you have to record, include 10 case discussions in the portfolio, what they will do is they will not go to the ward. They just keep on writing the portfolio because it is too much. Maybe 1 case scenario per week, or 5 for 2 months or something like that, because it's not the number of cases that you include in the case which matter. It's their ability to reflect. The depth and breadth of their reflection is the most important thing. So I think it should not hamper the clinical training, because otherwise the students will go away from the ward and they will start writing the portfolio in the library. So that should not happen, and they should feel that, okay, this is something that that will help me to develop and to think about, and giving, maybe my guess is that if they are, if you might be asking them to take histories of all the patients coming to the clinic or hospital during a week, but if you say that at least one selected patient need to be included in the portfolio, then that will be fair enough. Then they can focus on that and write a good discussion and a reflective account.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, first article here. Actually, part I had in my mind was also questioned by President. Now, this is the first time, as I mentioned, that we are going to sort of test this. Now it's a short period now, 9th semester, maybe maximum 15 weeks. And they haven't started on that. And although we have informally told that what they have done previously in the logbook, they could enter, I don't know whether they are very much organized in that manner, because we haven't been sort of guiding them in that respect to sort of carry on into the portfolio. Now, there's a practical question now, and to be fair by the students as well. Now, this 15 weeks, so they have to prepare and submit also within another maybe two weeks or 3 weeks time. Can we keep it to a sort of a very simple one?
Yeah.
Gradually from the coming years, because it's fair by the students. Will it? But still, we may be able to inculcate what is expected from a portfolio on them. No, I mean.
Yeah. So if as the students as well as the academics are new to undergraduate level portfolios, it is good to start in a simple way, and then when you gain experience, then I think gradually you can sort of expand it. Otherwise, if it is too much for people to, if it's a steep learning curve for both students as well as for teachers, then it might fail. Right. So basically, it need to be a bit of a evolution rather than a revolution, I would say.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Madhava. I'm Nadine. Can I ask a question?
Hi, Nadine. Yes.
So thank you very much for your presentation. It was real nice. My question is this, I believe this portfolio reflection is one-to-one with a student and a teacher, but will it benefit if such a portfolio is discussed in a small group where other students can also learn from the reflection of one student, or is it purely one-to-one?
You're right. I mean, in both, it depends on the content. For example, if you want to, now as I said, Nadine, some students are better reflection than the others. So they can learn from each other if those are discussed in small groups. For example, if you, let's say if you are mentoring 10 students for this particular portfolio, you can have a session with all 10 and you can ask, okay, you present the history and present your reflection as well. So if all of them have reflected and discussed, if you discuss in initial stages, definitely that will help students. Then students who are not that good in writing reflection or thinking in reflective manner might develop their skills. Definitely that will help. But later on, I think maybe in the final year, it might be, or in the fourth year, in the third year, it might be good to have one-to-one, because portfolios are highly individualized things. For example, two students might not have the same needs or same gaps in their knowledge. There can be, but there are instances. So gradually you can make them individualized, starting with a small group. So that's a good idea to start with. Maybe when you are starting, having all the mentees together and have a common discussion and let them learn from each other.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Madhav.
Madhava, there is a question in the chat box. May I read it for you? Or...
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah. So this question is from Professor Aruniti Lagaratne. Portfolio is generally recognized as a higher level of assessment and need constant reflection between the student and the supervisor. In that sense, how appropriate is this form of assessment for undergrads and continuation of that, especially when you allocate marks or grades for students?
Yes, that's a very good question. I think very relevant as well. Now, though it's, I mean, when a student is writing a reflection, we should not be, for each and every reflection, we should not be there as mentors. So it's a way of, I mean, there should be a strong mentorship, but maybe in every, let's say if you have introduced portfolio for year 4, the final year, and then every 3 months, there should be a meeting between the mentor and the mentee, or the person who's supervising this portfolio. And then you can give feedback about things that need to be improved and so on and so forth. The fundamental of portfolio assessment is the mentor should not be the assessor of that particular portfolio. Somebody else should assess that portfolio. If the mentor becomes the assessor as well, then the mentees will not come with their actual gaps in knowledge or actual learning needs. They try to hide because they want more marks. So basically, let's say if that is Prof. Chanti's mentee or student, and it will be assessed by Nadina, for example. So it should be like that. So assessor, the mentee and assessor should not be the same. And at undergraduate level, if you're not expecting too much from them, then having a mentor-mentor meeting every 3 months or 4 months will be okay. I hope I have answered the question.
Aruni Madam, do you want to continue the discussion on the same matter?
I think Chanta, Aruni Madam's phone is something wrong.
Okay.
Mic is,
I think
yeah,
she's happy with that. I see the message from her.
Mother, one more thing, Dilip here. This is,
yes.
in your opinion, now since we are starting for the first time, and we are also in the learning curve, how many students do you think would be sort of, I mean, knowing that everybody is busy, like how many portfolios should you think it would be reasonable to assign to a staff member?
It again depends on your workload as well. Now, for example, in our case, we get about 25 portfolios to be assessed every year by one staff member, because not everybody is assessing portfolios. But if you think that is too much, and it depends on the number of entries or the size of the portfolio as well, we have kept it to very minimum, and we don't bother, I mean, students as well as teachers on this. We just want to cultivate this habit of doing portfolios and inculcating the basics. Therefore, we keep it to minimum. For example, to assess a portfolio, it takes about maybe 20 minutes for me to mark one portfolio, because it's not huge, and it will take some time, but it comes every year. So it depends on the nature of portfolio and the workload that you have, and it need to be distributed. So if that is not confined to a particular area, if it is general, for example, ethical aspects of dental surgery or dental practice, that can be marked by everyone. I mean, or any teacher in the faculty. But if it is very specific clinical area, then you have to confine to that particular department or a few departments. So it depends. And when you are designing the portfolio, that is one aspect that you need to think seriously about.
Thank you, Madhava. Professor Aruni Tilakaratne wanted to thank you. She's having a problem in her audio.
Okay, no problem.
Mic. And I also have a question now. When we get our BDS course, so for 1 year, the students take several courses within one semester. So my question is, do we have to identify EPs based on courses, or can we combine several courses together and give one portfolio for that particular semester or particular year? Otherwise,
yes, you might have, Prof. Chandi. Now you might have several course units, you might have modules, whatever, but the best thing would be to have one portfolio. And if they are asked to maintain several portfolios, that will be a bit complicated. So I think Harit and Ashwini will show you. You can start a single portfolio, and from different modules, there can be entries. Now, for example, in course unit A, you are expected to write a case discussion, and that need to be uploaded to the portfolio, and that will be marked by people who are relevant to that particular module. And module B might not have any portfolio entry. C might have another thing, that is you have to make a presentation, and that presentation and the reflection will be uploaded to the portfolio, and that will be marked by that particular group of teachers. So likewise, maintaining a single portfolio with multiple entries would be the the best thing. And if you want marks for that particular thing, for that particular module, then you can extract that mark. For example, the presentation and the reflection uploaded to the portfolio will be marked by teachers who are teaching in module A, and that mark is taken for your credit calculation, sorry, GPA calculation or what.
Okay, I got the point. Nice, very well, and thank you. Just one more question. So, when we give the learning outcome, do we have to change the wording of our ILOs compared to what we use in our this kind of I mean conventional model?
Not necessarily. I hope you have very clearly written down ILOs. In that case, you can use the same ones. But if you think they are too trivial or too narrow, then you might have to combine 2 or 3 together, or you might expand it a little bit. But we cannot assess outside the outcome. So you can interpret the outcome in a different way for the portfolio if they are too trivial and too narrow. Otherwise, you can use the same ILOs, no problem at all.
Yeah, that's the point I want to hear actually, because in our this conventional one, like we have ILOs list something blah blah thing. So that is the reason I want to know. And there are, if the audience okay, I can go with two other questions from the chat box. So there's one question. How did you introduce portfolio in your faculty? Did you start from the first year or final year? And similar to that, asking, is that only for, is the presentation e-portfolio mainly discussed for clinical teaching? Does it have any application in the basic sciences, paraclinical sciences teaching? Those are from the chat box.
I think the first question I answered, it is for the year 1 to year 4. And now it will be used for in the final year as well, but Ashwini is in the process of developing a model for medicine, and surgeons have actually made a template, and we have to adapt that as well. So, but we used it from year 1 to year 4 to assess personal development and family medicine strand and community health strand. The clinical strand is actually now are very interested in introducing a portfolio. So what we have done is we have given them a chapter in the same portfolio. So a student will have only one portfolio, that is one e-portfolio, and there are several sections and for different strands, and then they upload their evidence or the reflection and everything to that particular section, which will be marked by respective teachers. So that is how it operates at the moment. When it was paper-based, only the PDFM and the community health strand used it.
Okay, thank you very much. Please, any other questions? And if not, I have one last question now. So, I mean, students are students. So there's tendency for copying down things or getting things from the internet. Yeah. So of course, we can find certain things from the reflection part. Yeah. But is there any mechanism to check those things? And can we have kind of an individual Viva? Because I have seen sometimes, yes. Although they give a similar portfolio, the teacher can check it, cross-check it during the Viva time. Yes, plagiarism can can be an issue. For example, after 4 years, they might one student might produce one which has been produced 4 years ago, right? So that can happen, and there are 2 ways of minimizing that problem. One is that if you have a plagiarism software, you can always use it, and you can ask students to you can put all the portfolios in a repository, and repository can be attached to that particular plagiarism software, and then you can ask students to check plagiarism. It might be a costly business because you have to subscribe for plagiarism software. The other thing is, if you have a very close mentoring system, then you can definitely recognize plagiarism.
if a student has written a very Shakespeare sort of English suddenly, or which is not compatible with his or her abilities, or if you when you go through the reflection with the student, then you might you will easily recognize plagiarism or copying from somewhere. And that is closed mentoring system. The third one is, as you said, if you have if you want, you can have a Viva, but it's again a huge undertaking. But that's one way of cross-checking what they have done, and that is a good way of doing that as well. But balance it out with your workload.
Yeah, that's true. That's the problem. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any more questions? I don't see any other questions from the chat box. Anybody else who want to ask questions, please go ahead. If not, we can move for the next session. I think everybody can manage without a break, since we have to finish everything before the power outage that usually start maybe 1 o'clock.
Yeah, I think Harit will demonstrate, Harit and Ashwini will demonstrate Mahara e-portfolio template just to have a taster. But if you want to develop a portfolio template, we can always help, and they will always be with you to develop a template which is suitable to you. So shall we have a look at the template?
Yes, very good idea. Yes.
Harit, can you start, please? Harit?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So before that, Ashwini Madam is going to do a brief session on e-portfolio. Ashwini Madam.
Yes, Dr. Ashwini.
Yes, I'm here. Give me a moment to share my screen, please. So actually, Prof. Madhava has covered most of what I wanted to talk about. But in the interests of completeness, I will speak a little, but this will be very, very brief. Right? So today, now we've already talked about portfolios. I'm going to introduce e-portfolios and talk about Mahara and give the demonstration. So Prof. Madhava defined what a portfolio is and how it came into use, not just in the health sciences, but much earlier than that. And the portfolios used earlier in the health sciences looked something like this. But by going through the collection of paper, there is evidence that learning has taken place. So e-portfolios started being used somewhere in the early 2000s. In the dental sciences, the earliest example I could find was from the University of Newcastle in 2003, and almost concurrently in Toronto, Canada, and the University of Otago in New Zealand. So the NHS in UK has a standard platform which different schools and institutions in the health sciences use. However, the dental NHS England and NHS Scotland have a specific dental e-portfolio, which is tailor-made for their dental trainees. So it is very, very specific to the dental curriculum, which is very uniform. And therefore, it is quite easy for the students to maintain their portfolios from first year to final year. And they are expected to keep these portfolios for their placements afterwards, and they will be assessed when they apply for postgraduate placements as well. So the dashboard looks a little like this, the NHS dental e-portfolio, right, where students can upload certain components. And what is important is that these are accompanied by training manuals, one for or user guides, one for the dental trainees and one for the supervisors, trainers, advisors. I think this is a key step because it recognizes that not everyone has the same capacity for our IT skills, and this training manual makes things easier across the board. Student feedback has been taken in many different settings. So if this is in dentistry, I've just taken one example right here where across 16 domains, student feedback was received on how useful they find it. So from 0, which is not very useful at all, to 10, very useful. Excuse me. And the size, the area of these circles represent the number of students who agree with that point. So, excuse me, I'm sorry. Students, you can see, are generally, they have favorable attitudes and favorable feedback towards e-portfolios. So anything new comes with the challenges. So these are technical, resource related, legal and ethical. Especially, I'm sure you're aware that there is a new Data Protection Act in Sri Lanka, which will come into effect from next year. So we have to be careful about patient data that is uploaded, right? And of course, personal things such as IT skills, attitudes towards portfolios, and what sort of support is available. Some questions that we need to think of, and I think Prof. Madhava addressed all of these as potential challenges, right? How do we make sure that the students' technical ability does not unduly influence the performance? What is the time they need to spend on it, and is it proportionate to the marks they would get? How do we maintain uniformity, authentication, preventing plagiarism, and ensuring protected time for the assessors? So there's a very recent review on over 300 studies of e-portfolio use in the health professions, so medical, dental, nursing, and so on. And these challenges, as well as the advantages, seem to be common across the board. However, there are very context-specific ones. For example, data storage. One setting where they do not have access to store large files. They would say data storage is a challenge, whereas in another setting, where there is a lot of space, server space, data storage becomes an advantage of the e-portfolio. So Mahara originated in New Zealand in 2006 as an open source project, and the name is derived from the Maori language meaning to think. So, which is what makes a portfolio different from a logbook or any other collection of learning material. So as I mentioned, it's free and open source, so it cuts down on the logistical requirements of cost. It is learner-centered and can be integrated into the learning management system. It is quite popular not only in health sciences, and because it is open source, there is a large community that help troubleshoot and update the development of the platform. So Harit will demonstrate the platform. This is what it looks like, and it has basic functions. So the users can upload content, they can organize content, they can share it with their supervisors or with their assessors, right? And use it for reflective practice. So here we can see how Mahara was used in the Faculty of Medicine, University of Kelaniya, and pages and collections can be there to help support the undergraduates. I think, I believe Prof. Madhava mentioned earlier, for undergraduates, having a more structured portfolio would be useful rather than expecting them to come up with a personalized structure. And finally, if you have a little time, I encourage you to read this paper. It's freely available on academic medicine just a couple of years ago, which gives a good summary on the uses and challenges of. Any questions before we move on to the demonstration?
How long you have been using this in Sri Lankan context?
Prof.
Mahara,
Madhava?
I mean Mahara, the packet, these things.
Sir, we are using it for around 1.5 years in University of Kelaniya.
All right. So it's open access and anybody can use it free of charge?
Yeah, it can be actually added to LMS as an add-on, and then we can use it. Otherwise, it's freely available. The demonstration site is actually freely available. It is free. It is not actually charging any money for that for using it. So it can be added to LMS.
Right. Thank you.
Any more questions, please? Ashwin, as you said that we may have, because now our students, both medical, dental, they are using human. So, so they may have to use a photograph of patients. Are there any, any policies or anything made already regarding that available at UGC or at this IT?
There are no official policies, Chanta, but there are certain, we use the, in Colombo faculty, we have modified use of the guidelines available for UK, that from the Institute of Medical Education UK. So very simple, basically, that personally identifiable information should not be shared or displayed. If they are being displayed for educational purposes, then full informed consent from the patient should be available. So any identifying features, so in an X-ray, if the patient's name is visible, then that should be hidden. Any patient records, they have to be careful of sharing. And this is in line with our data protection, the intellectual property standards of 2003. The new Data Protection Act, I have not gone through in detail, but I need to do that and see what is the implication for us as educators, medical and dental educators, and basically the health professions as a whole.
Okay, thank you, Ashwini.
Okay.
Any more questions? If not, we can move for the demonstration. And then if we have time, we can go for another Q&A session if the resource persons are not tired. Dr. Harith, are you going to do the part?
Yes, yes, madam. I'll do. So thank you very much, Prof. Shanta, and I have prepared a presentation beforehand, but I think since Prof. Madhava and Dr. Ashwini have done a comprehensive overview about portfolios and e-portfolios, so I'll directly move into the demonstration. So So as University of California, we are using Mahara e-portfolio platform in creating and maintaining our students and also teachers e-portfolios. So if I move on, Mahara e-portfolio system has several users. Actually, you can create your portfolio and you can collect your evidences. So evidences such as pictures, videos, any letters of recommendation, etc. You can collect anything in this Mahara e-portfolio platform. So this Mahara platform acts as a professional social network. I think you know about link. I think many of you are having LinkedIn account. So we maintain our professional account. So likewise, this Mahara e-portfolio platform can be used as a professional professional social network. And so if we use it as a social network, many can collaborate and do networking. And at the end of our portfolios, the assessors or evaluators can assess portfolios and give a feedback using this portfolio. So the advantages of Mahara is it is very learner-centered. It is very user-friendly. The one who's creating the portfolio decides how he or she is going to create his portfolio, and he can collect any multimedia as evidence, and he can share and showcase evidence of learning, and he or she can receive feedback systematically. It is very accessible and portable, and it has a mobile app also. So anybody who has a smartphone can download the Mahara app and use it using his or her smartphone, and it can be integrated into many learning management systems. So in University of California, we have Moodle platform. So the Mahara can be incorporated into Moodle platform and use it through Moodle. And there are possible innovative uses such as digital storytelling. So if I move on to my demonstration, so there's a site called mahara.org. I have highlighted it here. So that is where that is a community. That is actually a forum where if you have any doubts, if you have any problems, you can post it there, and you can get answers from the Mahara, the Mahara administrators. So before I move into demonstration, I think during Ashwini Madam's session, one asked whether it is freely available. So yes, the answer is yes, it is freely available. But the problem is, it doesn't, the Mahara technical team doesn't give a universal URL, universal website to create your Mahara portfolios independent. So what you have to do is, for your particular institution, you have to install Mahara first, and then, for an example, so as University of California, we have a separate institutional Mahara website. So there, students and teachers can create their portfolios. So likewise, to Peradeniya University, what you can do is you can install Mahara into your Peradeniya institution, and then from there onwards you can use your Mahara. You can create your e-portfolio. So the disadvantage is, like, if we for an example, if we talk about Facebook. So it is a universal site where you can just go to Facebook and create your own page. But here you can't just go to mahara.org and create your portfolios because it is not available like that. So for your institution, you can install it into your institution, and there onwards you can use your portfolios. So this mahara.org is there. Post your doubts, to post your problems there. There are several forums, so you can post your problems and you can get answers from Mahara administrators. So you can use this mahara.org for any queries. And the beautiful thing is, I mean, if you don't understand what I am saying, and if you don't, I mean, if you get more confused from my lecture, still you can use this Mahara manual. So if you go to this mahara.org, if you go to community, so you will get a drop down menu. So in this drop down menu, you have a Mahara manual. So you can download this Mahara manual, and further you can learn how to use this Mahara e-portfolio system. And the next thing is, Mahara team has introduced a demo site. It is a demonstration site. So if you don't have any accounts, or if you have an account and if you want to practice more on this Mahara portfolio, if you want to practice how to create this Mahara e-portfolio, still you can use this demo.mahara.org. The URL is there. So you can use this demo.mahara.org and you can practice there. So if you go to this demo.mahara.org, this is the page it appears. So there you can use these usernames. These are the usernames for demo accounts. So you can log in as an admin. You can log in as a student. You can log in as a learner. You can log in as a staff member. And you can even log in as a site staff or institutional admin. And see, I mean, so as students, depending on your purpose, you can log in into your demo site and see how this Mahara works. So there are several usernames, so you can use whatever. I mean, you can use either of these usernames, and the password for all these demo accounts are this Mahara demo. So you can use either of these usernames, and you can use this password to log in into your demonstration account, and you can practice there as you like. So when you log out, your data will be erased. So it is only for practicing purposes. So that is about demo accounts. So if I go into my, I mean, if I demonstrate about my account, so let me share my account. So this is the Mahara e-portfolio account of me. So as I said, we have a separate institutional Mahara e-portfolio site. So the URL for our institutional Mahara website is eportfolio.kln.ac.lk. So likewise, you can install Mahara into your institution. So if we log in into our institutional Mahara e-portfolio system, so this is the page that comes first. So this is called the dashboard. So dashboard means, I mean, I think you have seen, you have come across this dashboard term previously. So in our vehicles, in our cars, there's a dashboard. So in the dashboard, it has the most essential options available. So likewise, in this dashboard page, there are essential options available. So it shows the people who are online for last 10 minutes, and it gives options to create your portfolio, share your portfolio, and engage people. And if you go down further, it will show the latest changes you have made, and your inbox, and your portfolios, and your watch pages. So there are plenty of options in the dashboard. So if we go to the top green bar, so this is the most important part in our Mahara e-portfolio system. So you can use, this is the option bar where you are going to use in developing your portfolio. So in this green bar, in the top right corner, you will see several options. So you will see these 3 horizontal lines, that is called the main menu. So if you click the main menu, there are several options such as create, share, engage, and manage. If you go to create option, there are options such as pages and collections. So where you will be able to create your portfolio pages and collections, and you will be able to create files. You will be able to create journals, notes. You can have your plans here. You can develop your own resume. Likewise, there are several options. And if you go to share option, there are again several options such as shared by me and shared with me. So shared by me means you can share your portfolio within your institutional members. So if I am a student, if I want to send my e-portfolio to Prof. Madhava, so I can share my portfolio directly using this Mahara e-portfolio. And there's an option called shared with me. So if I am a teacher, and if a student wants to share his portfolio with me, so he will share, he can share. And if I click share with me, so that I will be able to see who are the students share their portfolios with me. And you can engage people like where I have described before. You can use this e-portfolio system as a professional social network. So you can engage people in creating groups, creating discussion topics, and many more. And further down, you can see many.
Excuse me, can I disturb her for a minute?
Yes,
now,
yes.
If you can demonstrate, if you are online, so can we, if you can show the shared one?
Sure, madam.
If it is okay.
Sure, madam. I'll go one by one. Sure.
Thank you.
So in the top down, in the most down, you can see manage option where you can export your e-portfolio and import. So if you think you are going to move to a new e-portfolio platform, but still you want your contents inside this portfolio, so you can export them. You can save it into your computer, and when you are using a new e-portfolio platform other than Mahara, you can upload them into that new e-portfolio platform. So those are the options available in this Mahara e-portfolio. So I'll show you how to create. Creating pages and collections are the most important things in developing your portfolio. So I'll show how to create a page and a collection using this e-portfolio platform. So if you click these 3 horizontal lines, you will, if you click this main menu, and if you click this lower down, the lower down arrow in create option, you will see these pages and collections. So if you click pages and collections, it will come, it will come to this page. So in this page, it will show what are the pages and collections you have already created, or else otherwise you can create pages, new pages and collections. So here you can see I have created several pages and collections. So for an example, if I created my I started creating my portfolio for my staff development course last year. So there were 12 entries. So for each entry, I have created portfolio entries using Mahara. So there are around 12 entries, and for each entry there are there's a separate e-portfolio contains. So if I show how to create a page and a collection, so in this pages and collections page, you will see there's an option called add. So if you click add, you will have two options. You can create either a collection or you can create either a page. So page is something like a empty Word document, an empty Word document. If you create a new Word document, it will be an empty page. So likewise, if you create, if you click this page option, it will be an empty page where you will be able to edit as you like. And collection
Can
is
I disturb you?
Yes, sir.
I think because of the time factor,
Yes,
without going into details, shall we show them the template that we have used, we have developed for the undergraduates first?
Yes.
Just to have a look what sort of a outline that is, and creation of individual pages and all that, I think can be done in a subsequent session.
Yes.
Yeah, just we'll show them the template that we have used for 33rd batch.
Okay. So just to finish my thing. So page is something like a Word document and collection is something like a folder. So if I show what we are using for our clinic, for our PDFM strand, so it is our professionalism and professional development and family medicine strand. So they are we have given them 6 separate tasks to their portfolio. So you can see we have, I have created a folder or else a collection for PDFM strand. So if I click PDFM strand, it will take into our 6 pages. So this is our first page of that collection or of that folder. So the first page is about the student. So there the student will be able to describe about him or herself. So that is first page. So if we go to second page, that is about reflection on moral and ethical dilemma. So we have given a sketch. We have given a guide. So where they will be able to, the student will be able to describe one of his moral and ethical dilemma and about his feelings and how he or she is going to evaluate his dilemma and how he is going to analyze and what is his or her conclusion and what is his or her action plan. And he can use this sketch in reflecting his moral and ethical dilemma. And the third page is on reflection on leadership and teamwork activity. So there also he can describe on his leadership or teamwork building activity and his role in that activity. So the fourth page is on reflection on developing emotional intelligence, and the next page is about a discussion. How he is going to discuss on this about this portfolio. And the last thing is documentary evidence, where he or she will be able to attach his evidence, either like pictures, videos, whatever he is having, he can attach evidence here. So that is our PDFM strand portfolio. So they have 6 pages to maintain. So if I go
basically,
back, yes.
Sorry, Hari.
Yes.
So basically, Prof. Chanti, now if you think about different modules you have, you can like the one that we have created PDF for PDFM. You can develop courses. You can develop different pages for different courses, and under each course, like we did for PDFM, you can define what need to be uploaded. And for each evidence, you can give a template as well. But at undergraduate level, what we need is, it's good if we can give them sort of a template to complete the reflection. So you can give the template for them to complete the the reflection. So for untitled version 1, portfolio entry 1, or whatever other courses and different things that they need to fulfill in the portfolio process. So
Okay.
for example, in the PDFM strand, Harit, can we go to the PDFM strand?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So when that is uploaded, and the student can then share that with the
So this is the teacher's view, right? Interface.
No, the student should the difference. I mean, the difference. The important thing about the Mahara portfolio is that the student have to create his template. We can actually give them a template, and the portfolio is owned by the template. And after uploading everything to the system, then the student can share that with the relevant teacher. For example, we say that this will be marked by Professor Madhava Chandratilaka. So what he does is he share that content with me, and then I can go through that and give marks and feedback. So shall we demonstrate how it can be done, Hari? A single entry, for example.
How to add content, sir?
Yeah, share කරන්න කොහොමද කියලා පේනන්නේ.
Yes, okay, sir.
ඔය එක page එකක් කියන්නකෝ. Let's say now they have completed page 2, ethical and moral dilemma එක කරන්නකෝ, second page. So if I've completed this, how it can be shared with the teacher?
Okay, so we have several options available in this Mahara e-portfolio in sharing. So basically, they can create a secret URL. They can create either a secret URL and share that secret URL with the teacher, or else otherwise he or she can submit it as an assignment to Moodle platform. So I'll show both of them. So here, madam, in the main menu, there's an option called share. So if you go to shared by me, there are, it will show the collections and the pages available. So for an example, if I'm going to share this portfolio entry 1 page, so I can, so you can see there's an option called secret URLs. So you can just click on secret URLs, and there they will ask to create a new secret URL, and the secret URL will be created so that the student will be able to copy and share it directly with the teacher. Or else, otherwise, if you have a plugin, if you have plugged in this Mahara into our Moodle platform or the learning management system, you can simply, I'll show, I don't know whether my screen is visible.
Yes. We can see that.
Yeah. Okay. So if you are going to, put it as an assignment, if you are going to put it as an assignment, so so they are in the Moodle platform. You can create an assignment. So if it is correctly plugged in, so this is the assignment page. So if you go down, if it is correctly plugged in, there's an option called submission types. In the submission types, there are 3